Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Talking Indies in My Undies. My name is Jacob and I'll be your host. Today's guests are Paul Harrill and Curt Willis, two of the founders of FILM FEST KNOX, the Visit Knoxville hosted and Regal Cinema sponsored film festival held in Knoxville in November. The majority of our conversation today is around the Elev8or Pitch film competition, where filmmakers have a few months to make an 8-minute proof of concept short film, which could potentially be expanded into a feature-length film. The Elev8or Pitch film competition is part of FILM FEST KNOX and kicks off on Thursday, July 16th at Scruffy City Hall at 6 p.m. We are approaching the fourth Elev8or Pitch film competition. With that experience in mind, I wanted to take full advantage of my conversation with our guest to discuss any adjustments that have been made to the Elev8or Pitch this year, along with any tips or tricks that could help give an advantage to the contestant based on the films and filmmakers who have found success over the past 3 years. So let's get into it. This is Paul Harrill and Curt Willis on this episode of Talking Indies in My Undies.
I'm Curt Willis, Senior Director of the Film Office at Visit Knoxville, also one of the founders of FILM FEST KNOX.
And I'm Paul Harrill, and I'm a filmmaker here in Knoxville. I also co-chair the Cinema Studies program at UT, and like Curt, one of the co-founders of FILM FEST KNOX.
For those who've never even heard of FILM FEST KNOX, can you give us a little bit of background or a little bit about what it is?
Yeah, FILM FEST KNOX is and Paul, you can chime in here too, but it's an international festival focused on, well, there's a lot of different elements. One of the elements is we focus on regional filmmaking, films that are made outside the major hubs of New York and Los Angeles. Like the centerpiece of the festival is the American Regional Cinema Competition. It's 5 films, feature films, that are regional films, and the winner of that competition gets an Oscar qualifying theatrical run through our great partners at Regal. And then we've also got other programming, Made in Tennessee programming, restorations, other things. With another big part of the festival is the Elev8or Pitch, which is our proof of concept short film competition. Paul, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, so one of the things when we were starting the festival 4 years ago, or a little bit more than that, was we wanted to maintain and sort of expand the great tradition of filmmaking timed competitions that had happened in Knoxville. And so we had this idea of a timed film competition for short films that are 8 minutes long, but we were giving the contestants, the competitive teams, a little bit longer. It's a couple months to make the film. And the idea is that they are not just making a short film, but that they're making a short film that's a proof of concept for a larger feature, and then they also pitch that feature as a feature. They do a 1-minute pitch as their submission, and then the top 8 projects. Then on Thursday night, the opening night, the first night of the festival, we have a screening of those top 8 projects. But also afterwards, there's this kind of like Shark Tank style, pitch competition where the 8 projects, the 8 directors and producers get up and do their pitch for everyone, and then they are quizzed by industry people who are the judges about that project and how that project could be realized. So they may ask questions about the cast, or they may ask how they would cast it, and they may ask questions about the budget or where they would want to shoot it in East Tennessee or whatever. So it's absolutely one of the highlights of the festival, like no question. And every time I convince people who are not in the filmmaking community to come out to it, it's like, oh, film festivals, I want to come see some of these feature films. I'm like, you should come see these Elev8or films because it's amazing, because you see the incredible talent in the area, and also because there's this live component that makes it so exciting and fun. We have such an amazing film community here, filmmaking community here, from directors to actors to cinematographers and editors and everybody who works on these kinds of projects. We have such an amazing community here, and then that pot gets stirred with all the people that come in for the festival as well, which is so the people that are here for the American Regional Competition, the people from other parts of the state that are here for the Made in Tennessee competition. And then we bring in a bunch of jurors from out of town, some for the elevator competition, some for the regional cinema competition, some for the Made in Tennessee competition. And those people are mixing and mingling around with everybody. And it's just such an amazing opportunity for all of us.
Yeah, I think one of our main goals to starting off is to have those type of people on the ground so people can network. Our local filmmakers can network with people like that are doing big things out there in the independent film world. And we bring in journalists and critics as well, and have gotten some great press with the festival. Movie Maker Magazine has listed it as one of their 50 film festivals worth the entry fee for the second year in a row this year, and we're only in our fourth year. And then the elevator pitch competition has gotten a lot of buzz as well, and has been written up glowingly in a lot of great publications like Filmmaker Magazine and some others. So, but yeah, it's a really fun week with a lot of really interesting people on the ground that you can rub elbows with and have great conversations with.
Curt mentioned Movie Maker and Filmmaker Magazine both covering it, and then we're getting this kind of advertising stuff in Film Riot. But we message constantly with Darren Hughes, who's the artistic director of the festival, and he was just messaging, I think it was yesterday, with us saying how many more films we're getting submitted every year. The first year we didn't necessarily expect many. We're a brand new festival. Nobody knows who we are, but we're getting more and more attention. And so we're getting more and more submissions. And not only that, we're getting a lot of filmmakers, not just like submitting through Film Freeway, right? But they're emailing us directly and saying, hey, we've heard about your festival. We're really interested in the competition. We want to let you know who we are. Just starting to make that personal contact because they've heard about the festival. So that's all good stuff, and it's just going to continue to grow.
At the film festival as a whole, I love to see how it just continues to grow and get bigger and bigger. But right now, we really got to focus on something that is right around the corner, and that is the kickoff to the elevator pitch. Now, we've kind of touched on what the elevator pitch competition is. It's an 8-minute film, and then you have to also submit a 1-minute pitch video. In your pitch video, you need to be able to express why you think that this film can be expanded into a feature-length film. So that's a much different task than just going off and making a short film. Can you guys explain a little bit as to your thinking behind this and why this is an important route to take for filmmaking in the region?
There are a lot of feature films these days that are building out of short films, right? That this is a path to features getting made, and it's especially for directors making their debut feature. It's a path to getting it made because people may say, like, well, okay, you've got a great script, but what have you got to show for it? Or, show us that you can direct actors, or show us you can direct the camera, or whatever. In many ways, there's nothing better than that. And then to say, like, well, here's a condensed version of this feature right here. Here's my vision for it. This is better than a lookbook. This is the real thing, right? And so, but we think that that's a great way to sort of generate interest, get people interested in the project. It's a good way for people to think about really condensed storytelling, and yet at the same time, it's a way for us to try to encourage people to be more ambitious. What would it look like to make something bigger,
We believe there's a lot of talent here, a lot of filmmaking talent. Maybe they've not known how in the past to get to the next level or to get their work in front of some really cool people. And so we wanted to kind of bridge that gap. For example, some of the judges that we've had for the top 8 in the elevator pitch competition, we had Taylor Shung one year. That she was a producer on Nomadland, which won a Best Picture, and was also on Past Lives, which was nominated for Best Picture. Last year James Johnston was one of the with Sailor Bear, who's made several movies with Oscar-winning actors.
He was one of the pre-screeners.
Yeah, and he was one of the pre-screeners to get to the top 8. So I don't think that's an opportunity that comes around very often, and hasn't in the past here. So it was important for us to kind of respect and showcase our local talent and get them in front of folks like that. That was one of the very important things that we wanted to accomplish with this.
Not only are we getting the films in front of these judges in the live setting, we're also asking the filmmakers to stand in front of a panel of judges and to pitch that film. Can we talk a little bit about the pitch aspect of it?
For the recording that is submitted along with the 8-minute film, or 8-minute or less film, it's 1 minute. Tell us a story in the most condensed way, how it would be expanded, just in a basic level, like if there are people who might make a short film and it's like the first scene of the feature, you know, that has its own kind of little arc to it, right? So, I mean, that's the first thing is when you're talking about the 8-minute film, it should be a story. It shouldn't just be like, hey, we pulled 8 pages out of a feature-length screenplay and, you know, it should tell a story beginning to end, right? So when they're doing the pitch, they may say, hey, this is the first scene of the movie, or this is the entire arc of the movie, but shrink-wrapped down to its most essential elements. And here's briefly how it would expand. And then why do they want to make it? Why is this the project? And I think on one level, that is the most important thing. We've had jurors say before, like, you know, that was a pretty, you know, it's a good short, but I could really see how passionate they are about this. And that goes a long way. And I want to see them, you know, up on stage doing the real pitch and answering questions, right? So that's the recorded pitch, 1 minute. The live pitch can be very similar to that, okay? Because it's 60 seconds, you know. But the follow-up is what's important, which is they'll get asked a lot of questions. So I think on one level, just as a little tip to anyone out there who's doing their homework, who's going to be submitting, just focus on those 3 basic elements for the recorded pitch and for your live pitch, because don't worry too much about like telling us about the budget or telling us about the actors or telling us about what kind of camera and lenses you're going to use. Those kinds of things will come up in the Q&A, and you're saving your time to talk about the more important stuff. But the Q&A, it can be wide-ranging. Sometimes people will ask about the actor, you know, who would you cast in it? And sometimes that doesn't get asked. Sometimes something comes up in the pitch or in the movie, and they got to ask about, oh, you shot at this interesting location, but it wasn't in East Tennessee. How would you set it here? Whatever. Kurt, do you want to add anything to that? Is that?
No, I think that covers it very well, actually. Yeah.
Again, some more homework. If you are going to do this for that recorded 1 minute pitch, what I would recommend is writing it out, rehearsing it, and rehearsing it, and rehearsing it to the point that you don't have to think about it anymore. And then you can sort of say it in a way that does not sound like you're performing it or reading it. It just sounds like you're saying it for the first time. It's like acting.
Well, I like how you're calling it homework, because I do think that there are people who are listening to this podcast right now who are looking for little tips, little insights, little things that they can use for their film project this year for the Elev8or Pitch. So we talked about the pitch portion. Now that we've done this 3 times before, we have sort of a larger proof of concept of this concept, the same way that filmmakers are making proof of concept films. You all have proof of concepts of the Elev8or Pitch. Has there been any, I don't know if trends is the word, the idea of making a film that could be expanded out into a feature, there's a lot of interpretation of that. As you mentioned previously, it could be the first scene of the film, as long as there's a little bit of a story arc to it. You know, it could be a more condensed, distilled version of the feature film, squished down into 8 minutes. That is another approach. Based on the successes that we've seen in the past, is there any tips that we can give filmmakers about that approach to their film project? I know that's a tough question.
It's a great question, though. It's a great question. I mean, that's like the ultimate, like, it's not like, here's what we're looking for, everybody. Because first, we're not involved in the jury stuff. And I don't know if we should even go down that path just yet, but we'll get to it, I know, at some point, which is, we're not involved in selection at all in this stuff, and that's really important. However, I can say, like, hearing what jurors have said in the past, you know, I have not seen any trend, or I've never heard any juror say, well, that film was one just the beginning and that film was in the middle, or that was condensed. Like, this is pro and this is this approach is better, or this approach is better. It's execution dependent. Far more important are the questions of, was it coherent? Did it make sense? So that's the thing I would pay attention to. You can have an open ending, but it needs to feel like it doesn't just stop, right?
Yeah.
And so that sense of like arc is important. But I would say the casting and directing of actors is paramount. You know, there are films that are like maybe a little bit less technically accomplished, you know, or polished, that have gotten into the top 8 than films that were more polished. But maybe the performances were what, pardon the expression, elevated it, right? Can they direct the actors? Can they direct the camera?
I think, too, the stories need to have something to say. and they need to be unique, no matter what genre. I mean, in every year in the top three winners, they've been a mix of genres. There's been horror. I mean, a horror film won its first year, and there's been other horror films in the top three. There's drama films, there's everything else. So, like on sci-fi even. So, no matter what the genre, because we're not telling anybody to lean towards any genres, you get to do what you want here. But just make sure it has something to say.
Having a unique perspective, especially if you're leaning into a genre. We do get a fair amount of horror, right? Horror that's distinctive, either in its story and or its style, I think is really key. I will say we haven't gotten as many like romantic comedies or just more straightforward comedies and things like that. The handful that have then advanced to the top 8 were also very distinctive. Callie Bacon's project that placed first last year was a comedy, but it was set in this unique story world, which is the world of professional party princesses. Kirk forgot to turn his phone off. Can you point the camera in a place we haven't seen? Yeah. Right? I had never seen a movie about party princesses that dress up like Disney princesses, and especially one that had like really raunchy humor in it, and that was a big selling point for the judges.
Who are these judges? Who are these people that are looking at these films and, determining the ones that should be elevated?
Well, that's a new development this year, and we've been marketing and getting the word out. 2 of the judges that will be evaluating for top 8, as well as taking over the development lab, are 10 Acre Films, Jonathan Duffy and Kelly Williams. And Paul, you know these guys well. They're very, very accomplished filmmakers, but I'll let you tell.
Yeah, I mean,
more about them.
So Jonathan Duffy and Kelly Williams have been producing for, 15 years or something like that, at least. Before that, Kelly Williams was a film festival programmer and was the director of the Austin Film Festival, which is a very well-respected festival and especially prominent for its screenwriting section. But they've been producing films for a number of years. Their films have won awards from they've won a Gotham Award, and maybe a Film Independent Spirit Award as well. I can't remember if they were nominated for one, but they've been recognized by Sundance. Kelly Williams was a Sundance Producing Fellow. They produced Meg Ryan's last movie. They've made movies with major stars. They had a film, opening night film 2 years ago. Yeah. They've had like 10 films at Sundance, so they are highly respected in the industry. And they've also done a little bit of professional mentoring through Sundance and through some other festival and non-festival related sort of mentoring kind of labs in the industry. And so Kelly had been to the festival before, had been a juror for us on the American Regional Cinema jury in our first year and on the Elevator jury in year 2. And so we sort of think of them as friends of the festival. And so we were trying to think of ways to just expand what we're doing. And like you said at the beginning, always make it better. Like, what can we do better this year? How can we add more value to the experience that filmmakers have at this festival? And so we reached out to them to see if they would be interested in running our development lab, which I've done the previous years and which I had enjoyed, but I also felt like, wouldn't it be amazing to bring in people who have a more accomplished track record as producers, who are also not Knoxville-based people, and just sort of expand the footprint of the festival. And so they were really excited about this. So they're on board, and as Curt said, they'll be involved in the selection process for all the films that are submitted. They'll be involved in picking the top 8, along with some other, again, non-Knoxville film industry folks. And then they'll be on the jury, and they'll be involved in helping us select the rest of the jury for the festival.
Like you said, it's part of our commitment to growing the festival, not just the festival overall, but we're very, very committed to the Elev8or Pitch competition, and really want it to be something special for filmmakers, for our local filmmakers. And this was part of it. So I think it's a really, really good addition to this competition that people should be excited about. But not just excited about, but should take advantage of, I think. So if you're on the fence about entering this year, please do. It's a really good opportunity.
Yeah, it really is. And the other thing is, I just want to say, like, our goal has always to be a festival that's intensely local. It's like organic food. It's like fresh and local. We want to be like, I was just walking through Market Square. It's today's Wednesday, right? And so Market Day, and I feel like that's what Film Fest KNOX is, right? It's the farmers market for film festivals. It's like, this is where you're going to find the fresh and local stuff, the organic stuff that's not the, corporate product. Not that I'm not also going to enjoy, like, some big studio. I'm going to go see the Odyssey, but to see these American regional films, but also especially to celebrate and be a place of community for people here that are doing the work.
We're a farm to table film festival.
That's exactly.
Maybe we'll change the name next year.
Yeah. Well, let's go pull in our marketing people here. We'll have our marketing meeting soon. But the thing is, we want to be intensely local in that sense and really serve our community in terms of our audiences here, people who just are going to come see movies, but also people who are here making work. But to do that in a way that makes, especially I think filmmakers who are doing competitive stuff feel good, we've also needed to expand to make it non-local in terms of the jurying, so that people don't feel that there's perceived, any perceived, biases or favoritism or anything like that. And that's always been on our agenda, but it's been a process because we've only had the festival for 3 years, and amassing, and we don't put this on at some massive budget. And as I hope everyone involved in the festival knows, we don't. We do charge for the elevator film competition, but the person gets a pass to the festival. But we don't charge entry fees to any other films that are submitted for the festival, and that's extremely rare in the festival world. So we're not. Our goal has never been make a single dollar off of festival submissions, and so doing this on the budget that we do, and doing this in the short time frame that we have, and again, this is our 4th year. It's been a process of building a reputation, building the relationships, and then letting people see what we're doing, and then having the opportunity to invite them in and say, hey, would you be willing to do this for us? Would you be willing to watch these films, or would you like to come in and be a juror for us? So this has always been part of the master plan, and we're just incredibly excited that it's coming to fruition.
Yeah, that's a great point. We had to build a little credibility first before we could bring on people like 10-Acre Films to do our development lab. So, but in our 4th year, I think we've grown pretty fast, and we're in a good spot now. So, again, if you're a local filmmaker, it's a great way to spend a week, and a great opportunity to get your work in front of some really cool people.
Well, there we go, team. Curt Willis and Paul Harrill. If you'd like to learn more about the Elev8or Pitch or Film Fest KNOX, head over to filmfestknox.com or check out their social media to stay up to date. Remember, the kickoff event for the Elev8or Pitch is Thursday, July 16th at Scruffy City Hall in Knoxville's Market Square. If you're on the fence about signing up this year, I encourage you to come to the kickoff. My understanding is that registration will remain open for the rest of July, so you have a couple weeks to brainstorm ideas, locations, and plans before committing. I hope to see everyone out there, even if you simply want to hang out and socialize with like-minded people. Who knows what can come from that? Well, that's it from me. I hope you are well, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.